And let me also announce that today's meeting is the last meeting of the committee for the term. A new schedule will be distributed to members in due course. And let me acknowledge apologies received thus far. We have received apology from Honorable Dr. Schreiber, Honorable Mbele, Honorable Komani, and the Northern Cape contingent. Northern Cape is busy with their budgets today, so they won't be able to be part of this meeting. Honorable members, on the 21st of September this year, the Public Service Commission presented a monitoring report on 30 days payment of invoices to service providers. The Commission reported that there were 36,000 invoices for the last quarter of 2021-2022 and 29,000 in the first quarter of 2022-2023 financial year, which were not paid within 30 days. 959 invoices had not been paid by departments at the end of June 2022. Delayed payments have a profound impact on small businesses. Small businesses collapse due to the government failure to pay invoices timeously. The committee has recommended that Parliament assist in holding departments, especially accounting officers, accountable for their failure to meet their statutory obligations in terms of Section 38, subsection 1 of the Public Finance Management Act. The committee members also agreed that all flagged national departments and provinces be invited to account on their challenges with regards to payment of invoices. With those few words, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, let me now outline how the meeting will unfold. For national departments, each minister or deputy minister will provide opening remarks prior to the presentation, and the same applies to premiers. Can Scholar flight the agenda of today's meeting before I call whoever should start?
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning, Mastole.
Let me quickly rush and that, Chair. Okay. Okay. Apologies for that, Chair. I was on a call with Honorable Maneli.
Oh, Honorable Maneli.
Yes, Chair. She's trying to log in.
Okay.
Can you see the agenda, Chair?
Yes, I can see it.
Good morning, Chair.
Just hold on.
Masi, I think it's the wrong agenda.
Yes.
Let me see.
Apologies for once again, Chair, for that one. But it's now. Can you see it now, Chair?
Not yet. Flight it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming up now.
There it is, Chair.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes, Chair. That's the agenda, Chair.
I see that the first department is Department of Water and Sanitation.
Correct, Chair.
Is the minister available to give opening remarks before the presentation is given to the committee?
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning to the members, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee. I also recognize the deputy ministers that are here, especially from Water and Sanitation. Chair, we have a pleasure to present to you our reports, which will be done by DG and relevant officials on the matter from CFO and the team. We have noted your remarks, the impact of failure to pay within 30 days as is required, and we take that remark and the provision generally, as it has been around for quite some time, very seriously. And all efforts have been made to comply. And I think with a high level of success from where I sit, but not 100%, and there's room for improvement. But one element that gets into this is processing via documents of claims and so on, which from time to time get reported on by officials, which end up causing delay or delays in some instances, exceeding 30 days, or forcing payment to exceed or to fall beyond 30 days when documentation is not as accurate as it should be to enable payment without any hitch or problem. It's a case that is more or less similar to what we normally experience when we process licenses, water licenses. Information supplied often causes delay in 90 days. But the presentation will clarify those matters. Other than that, we are committed to payment within 30 days. And we'll take reports from time to time. And by and large, we're on our way to better and better compliance on the matter. I think the person who's presenting is the CFO, who will lead the whole team and all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. CFO, you can take the floor now.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Minister, DMs. Chairperson, as indicated, our Director General, Dr. Sean Phillips, is attending another session now where he's consulting on the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency, and I will be presenting on his behalf this morning. To start with, maybe before I get to the, I've also minded the time that has been allocated to us, just to provide an overview, Chairperson, that over the recent past, the department has had various challenges around financial management overall within the department and its water trading entity. And to that end, the department has developed and is currently implementing a turnaround and financial recovery plan, which amongst others is dealing with matters of financial management, with particular reference to the matter that we are dealing with today, as the minister has indicated that the department is taking this seriously. Also, to provide an overview that in the previous financial years, if I remember well, 2018-19, the Auditor General did raise serious concerns around material uncertainty relating to going concern, financial sustainability of the department and its water trading entity, which amongst others, Chairperson, had to deal with the issues of accruals and payables. In one instance within the department, we had 3 billion worth of the accruals that were reported, and on the water trading entity, 3.5 billion, which totaled 6.5 billion. That was during the financial year 17-18, more or less similar figures in the 18-19 financial year. And that prompted a review of our systems and, as I said, implementation of the financial recovery plan. Then coming to the presentation, the slide that we are showing now, Chairperson, does confirm the earlier statement by the Minister that we do have a contractual, the obligations in terms of the Public Finance Management Act to pay the amounts that are due that relates to invoices and other claims within 30 days from receipt of an invoice. And we're also required to report this to the National Treasury on the 7th. This we're doing on a monthly basis as a department and the water trading entity. The reports I'm providing today, Chairperson, deals with the department as we know it, the vote, as well as the water trading entity of the department. For the department to ensure compliance, we have developed standard operating procedures and circulars on the payment of invoices within 30 days, and those are being implemented within the department and its regions. We operate in an environment, Chairperson, where we have a head office here in Pretoria on the department side, as well as the water trading entity, and then we have offices in all the provinces, which comprises of cluster offices and the construction sites. So our financial transactions are also managed at that level. So we manage quite a number of volumes relating to invoices. Now, we have put those processes. One of the measures that we have put in place is to ensure that finance manages the invoices. So we've put in measures to ensure that we are able to track the invoices from the time of receipt until the time it is paid. And we also have mechanisms where we are processing these invoices timely, and there's also a weekly reporting and monthly reporting where head office is in the position to monitor and to intervene where there is a need. One other area that is key is that our responsibility managers are required to sign off on the goods and services, the goods that have been received, services rendered, and that in terms of our processes should be done within 2 working days. That is with the understanding and the proviso that our engineers would have been on site to certify the work, and by the time the invoice reaches finance, they have agreed on the measurement of the claims that will be submitted. That is in respect of infrastructure expenditure. And where there are disputes, we also have a process where the responsible offices will have to inform finance, and when necessary, it is escalated to the chief financial officer and the relevant supplier in writing within 2 days. And this is where I think, Chairperson, we had some challenges as well within the system where there isn't Chinese communication as prescribed by our internal policies. But the aim is to ensure that we resolve those issues amicably between the contracting parties. Another critical factor to really emphasize here is that we had instances in the past, and we still have some where supply chain management processes are not followed, and there are no purchase orders against which we can make payments. And that pushes us now to go towards payment of invoices through sundry method. And in doing so, you are required now to perform due diligence to really understand the reasons for the work having been done without a purchase order not being issued. And this has led to instances of a non-compliance and irregular expenditure. And I can confirm that the department has taken a strict position here. There have been consequence management that has been implemented in this regard. The next slide. Now, in terms of the numbers, I will start with the vote, which is the department. We have put here the amounts that we have paid since April to the latest, which is the October month, that we have paid 6.2 billion. And then the number of invoices, 40. Out of those invoices, 40,000 of those, which is 98.4%, were paid within 30 days in terms of the statistics that we have confirmed. And then with 639, that was out of the 30 days due to non-compliance. And I'll speak to those reasons and remedial measures that we're putting in place. The next slide. The slide, Chairperson, is what we present as well, report to National Treasury, analysis of those invoices that we have paid after 30 days in terms of rent values, and those that were not paid in a particular reporting month. And the reasons are available. Those I will talk to as well when I discuss the root causes that we have identified. And then it also reflects on the number of invoices that we have paid in terms of the quantities now, not the rent value. The next slide. We constantly monitor non-compliance, both compliance to ensure that our suppliers are paid within 30 days, but we also zoom into the instances of non-compliance to try and understand the root causes. For example, Chairperson, if you look at our analysis on the department, on head office, we do have invoices, for example, that relates to Department of Justice, which delayed because of some budget processes that could not be finalized on time. So those were then paid in the subsequent month. And also some of our regions as well, you can see that there are some challenges there. We did have certain incidents that related to power failures and all that, which I'll talk to when I come to the subsequent slide. So this slide just provides those areas, and we know where those non-compliance are happening, which office, and we are also learning, sharing lessons with those offices that are doing well across the department. We can move to the next slide. In addition to the non-compliance, Chairperson, we still have, as I've indicated, that we have a financial recovery plan, and one of the tenets of that plan is to make sure that we do not incur improper expenditure. We do, for example, in this reporting period, still have invoices that are long outstanding. This relates to the intervention that we embarked on in the KZN in relation to disaster. We did have National Treasury approval for the budgets, and then we intervened. However, we also noted, and the Auditor General also flagged also some of the discrepancies on the billing. We did the same as the department, and we visited the service provider. So we're still in the process now of making sure that the billing that is provided, for example, if you say a tanker was at a particular point in time, we're able to track that, who was the driver, where what was the water delivered, the community representative side. So we're still collecting that information. If we do not complete that process, will then be found guilty of a material irregularity. So this is just to share with the committee that there are instances where legitimately we need to deal with these invoices. The next slide. Historically as well, on the next slide, I referred earlier on, Chairperson, to the financial recovery plan of the department, as well as the going concern which was raised in the previous financial years. We are still dealing with some of those invoices, in particular the One Leaks program, which has since been discontinued. We did issue out communication through our ministry as well as the DG to the implementing agent. So we are concluding now on the work that was approved that we should end at phase 2. However, in the previous years, we did not have budget, and to avoid incurring irregular expenditure or unauthorized expenditure, we entered into repayment agreements with Rainwater. Now, as the department was stabilizing and recovery kicking in, we had to make sure that now we validate the invoices. And we picked up that there were still issues, and our program manager who's leading this program has been working very hard with Rand Water, and we should be able to conclude on the validation and the reconciliations during this month of November and December. And also we'll be able to reprioritize the budget. We have engaged the accounting officer so that we close all these historic invoices. These are part of the financial recovery plan of the department and the exit plan documented. So we are simply accounting that we do have these instances. I must also indicate, Chairperson, on this particular slide that this relates to our implementing agent. They have, however, settled already with the service providers. So we owe now our water board in this regard. We can move to the next presentation slide. Some of the reasons which we do have details on, Chairperson, relates to the system's challenges. We did have a number of challenges on the system. One of them also had to do with power, but that was specific incidents. And then we analyzed capacity in some of the regional offices. They do not have all the capacity, and we are busy implementing the new structure in the department, and that matter has been dealt with. Delay in the verification of invoices. The process that we have put in place, we have also established that some of our officials do not adhere. For example, as I've indicated, that the engineer should be able to agree on the measurement of work. And when they present the invoice, it should be a matter of processing it and certifying, doing the final reconciliations. So once those are not done, Chairperson, it creates a time issue for us. Now, we did prioritize some of the old invoices, especially after the power cuts that we had, to try and really move with speed. We tried to have overtime for the officials, but we also are now implementing the new structure in the department to address capacity challenges in identified offices. Regular monitoring, Chairperson, of these invoices, even through the office of the CFO. We constantly, on a weekly basis, there's periodic reporting where we interrogate any anomaly that we are picking. We still have those instances, as it is evidenced by the report that the Chairperson mentioned earlier on. We can move to the next slide. I'll be moving now, Chairperson, to the water trading entity of the department, which is the agency that is dealing with infrastructure development within the department, as well as the sales of water. We are also working with TCTA, and this is the one which DG is busy with now, the consultation. So 7 billion was paid for the reporting period April to October. Total number of invoices 54,000 as indicated on the slide then. And here, Chairperson, I must indicate that there are we had serious challenges, and one of the reasons is that we are running the department on 2 financial systems. The previous one, we are working on the normal transversal systems, the basic accounting system, and on the trading entity, we are working on ERP system, the SAP system, and that is why I think some of the challenges are not more or less within the same as the other one of the department. So the deviation here is high. We had almost 4% of our invoices over the period, and I will talk to that in the next slide. The next slide. Similar to the vote, here is an analysis of the invoices that were paid after 30 days in terms of the rent value. The total number of invoices for the period is 2.1, and those that were not paid at a particular reporting month are 1.7. But those, as the month goes by, they are added up now to our paid invoices after 30 days. We can move to the next slide. As indicated, Chairperson, the water trading entity deals with the construction unit of the department, which is in all the provinces, as well as our cluster offices, which are also in the various provinces. We also have the proto CMAs as well. So the workload here is significant. We are also managing that very closely as head office to support our colleagues in those offices. Also notably, Chairperson, the specific offices which had almost consistent non-compliance, Eastern operation as well as the Southern operation. That is, those are the offices where we have identified the capacity constraints. But maybe to also talk to the reasons on the next slide, I think, so that I don't repeat myself, I will talk to the reasons that led to some of those. So these are the number of invoices. We can move to the next slide. The next slide is the same. Okay, yeah, the root causes. During the month of February, the entity experienced a subsystem failure, Chairperson. We had a power problem within the department here around February. And as I've indicated, this is not a transversal system. It's an ERP which is administered and is maintained internally by the department. So that server that was faulty created a problem, and all our offices across the country are linked to this main server. Our payments go through payment runs that go through the Reserve Bank. They come through a head office. We have dedicated officials who manages the tapes that have to go to the Reserve Bank. And unfortunately, after that systems breakdown, Chairperson, we were not in the position to transact on this on the water training entity. Now, that created a problem where we attempted to also assist by taking some of the agent invoices onto the department on the vote. So we did our best with the capacity that is limited as well on the vote, because we also have to manage their segregation of duties, controls. We have few people who are responsible for best to process payments. So we did prioritize those, especially those that would be attracting interest and the small businesses that are suffering. So we then managed, but however, there was still a huge backlog on the side of the water trading entity. And unfortunately, that backlog, Chairperson, took a couple of months to clear, and it affected those two offices quite a lot. So in terms of measures to deal with that, we did try and put overtime and put people on the department side, but it did not really assist. So we also wrote to National Treasury to inform them about our inability to comply with some of the provisions of the Public Finance Management Act because of the system which went down since Feb until March. We're also concerned that we would have had challenges in terms of financial statements, but we managed to deal with the matter subsequently. On the next slide. Yeah, okay, the same matter as I've indicated, Chairperson, there were issues between the Department of Public Works and the landlord, which they had to resolve. Unfortunately, we were affected as the department. We tried our other interventions. We had generators as well put in to make sure that the server is working. We had to now procure even services of Oracle to help us to restore the server. So that was done, it was restored. Unfortunately, by that time, Chairperson, we already had a huge backlog, but we were running and paying some of the salaries, some of the invoices on the department side with the limited capacity. We can move to the next slide. In terms of challenges and opportunities, we are indicating that our challenges is instances where purchase orders are not issued, or we pick up that officials did not follow proper supply chain management processes, and you need to investigate those before you will pay. And some of the invoicing by service providers are incorrect. And we work a lot with implementing agents. We are trying to work smart with them to deal with the issues around compliance as well and certification process. Another matter which is of concern, Chairperson, which we have also observed in the recent past, also Auditor General picked that up, we did pick up internally, as well that there are fraudulent invoices. Our report, as issued by the Auditor General, does indicate that we have material irregularities on both the main account and the water trading entity, where we had invoices that were paid, but the work was not done. So as we put in controls in place, sometimes this rigorous process of verifying does impact on the days. It's not our intention to delay. It's only those invoices that are red flagged that we deal with them in that manner. Capacity constraint, I spoke to that, and we are also dealing with that. Opportunities, we are mindful that we need to improve our controls continuously. And another benefit, Chairperson, as we pay our invoices timeously, as Minister indicated, our willingness and energy to comply is that it improves your financial management, your budgeting, you have certainty, your expenditure, your liability. And as indicated now that as we are paying most of our invoices timeously, it affects also the accruals and payables. There's a significant reduction. Our books will look much better when the Auditor General comes to audit. But most importantly, Chairperson, is that we will have improved contract management, project management, and service delivery, which is key to make sure that we do not let our communities down. If we do not pay on time, contractors leave site, it brings cost to the department, to government. And we are also seeing opportunities of contributing to the economy of the country, transformational goals of government that we are working on, employment with sustainable small, micro, and medium enterprises, Chairperson. I think we will do quite well if we deal with those other invoices that are still troubling the department. Chairperson, I think I have reached the end of the presentation. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have no brilliant ideas to how we engage with this. Maybe okay, let me allow members who want to have some questions on the presentation to raise hands and put those questions. I see Honorable Kibi's hand is up. Honorable Kibi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Chair, sorry, I'm not going to put my video on. Honorable Chair, good morning to the ministers, deputy ministers, the premiers, honorable members, and the colleagues. Chairperson, let me welcome the presentation by the Department of Water and Sanitation and appreciate it as well. Chairperson, my first question would go to the department is to say, can the department clarify or indicate whether it has the capacity challenges in terms of honoring 30 days payment to service providers? And the next one is, the PSC has highlighted non-compliance with instruction number 34, compromises transparency in the provision of information, which requires departments to submit monthly information to the National Treasury within the 7th day of each month. Now, could the department provide clarity why it is unable to comply with instruction note 34 of the Treasury prescripts? And on slide 3, the department indicated that it has developed standard operating procedures and circulars on payment of invoices within 30 days, which are being implemented at head office and regions. Now, are the standard operating procedures on payment of invoices being followed to the latter by all staff members in the department? If not, what are the consequences? And how many officials are facing disciplinary cases as a result of non-compliance with standard operating procedures on payment of invoices. Honorable Chair, the presenter also made mention of fraudulent invoices that were paid. I just want to know whether the official involved is the official known, and what are the steps that are being taken to address this. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Gondwe.
Thank you very
It's your
much.
turn now.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Allow me to also greet everyone on the virtual platform, and also thank the Department of Water and Sanitation for their presentation. I have two questions, and one of the questions is on the back of what Honorable Kibi has said. But let me start with the first question. My first question is around the long-standing invoices that have not been paid, that are older than 30 days. And the presentation, I think in slides 10 and 11, indicate that they relate to the provision of water tankering services following the KZN disaster. And I wanted to know what the impact of the non-payment of these invoices has been on the provision of assistance and relief to those affected by the disaster. And just on the back of what Honorable Kibi said, and I see that slides 10 and 11 indicate that these invoices were returned due to incorrect billing. And I wanted to know whether any action had been taken against those responsible for ensuring that those invoices, were correctly billed. Because, Chair, until such a time we start taking consequences, we start acting rather against public servants who flout regulations and legal prescripts, we will not see any changes. So it's very important that if someone incorrectly bills, and in this instance, the billing pertained to a disaster, and there are a lot of people that were awaiting this relief from the Department of Water and Sanitation, and surely there must be consequence management that takes place. And so my worry is that I think I picked up on this in all the presentations that we'll be receiving today. There isn't any reference to consequences being taken, especially where the fault is on the part of the department in terms of the late payment of invoices. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Gondwe. Is the department ready for responses to questions raised by honorable members? I'm giving you the platform now.
Thank you, Chairperson. Prime Minister, if I may respond. On the first question around capacity to pay invoices, Chairperson, we do have capacity except for the offices which we have identified. There was a diagnosis done. We visited those offices, specifically the cluster offices that I've mentioned on the presentation. So those are the ones that we have noted that they do not have adequate capacity to service the services that they have to render in terms of payment of invoices. You have, for example, few finance officials in the cluster offices who in one instance we had 3 employees who were handling the purchase orders and the sundry invoices. So there were also issues of segregation of duty. So we've identified those, and we have then put that as a priority now with the implementation of the new structure. But overall, Chairperson, I think we have over the period put in a capacity. There's been filling of posts by the department. I think that has been reported by the department to the our portfolio committee. So capacity has been built, but lower down, that is where we're trying to get those. capacity. One of the offices is in the Northern Cape, where we are trying to fill a head of finance. We noted that it does also affect the capacity of the finance unit. In terms of monthly reporting to National Treasury, I can confirm, Chairperson, that that is definitely being adhered to. It is one of the compliance matters that is on our radar. We do comply, and also we ensure that we comply, ensuring that the work that was submitted to Treasury is also of quality. The only challenge that we had, as indicated, it was during the downtime time of SEP. But even there, Chairperson, we managed to report invoices that we had on hand. But some of those that were on the system pending there might have been challenges, but we managed to report all our invoices, also using our backups that we are keeping on the spreadsheet. So to answer the honorable member, yes, we have complied monthly on both the main account and the water trading entity. The standard operating procedures and circulars and the implementation thereof, it is only in those instances that we have noted deviations and Chairperson. For example, you might have, for example, as I said, the two offices, Southern Operation and Eastern as well, where after analyzing and realizing that we needed to have ensured as the department that there's adequate capacity to be able to handle those. But what also exacerbated that non-compliance is the breakdown of the system for almost 2 months. And there we had a buildup. There was a buildup of the backlog. And unfortunately, those two offices, they suffered now. They didn't recover speedily in comparison to those that had a capacity. So we do have those non-instances of where there are no compliance. And yes, consequence management is being taken also in relation to the nature of the transgression. For example, I can provide some of the, I'm reflecting now on central operations, which is one of our operational centers within the water trading entity, where they do operations maintenance. We did have letters issued, which were written and verbal warnings, 7 in there. And also in Gauteng, there was also non-compliance and verbal warning issued. So the manager would assess the nature of the transgression. Some of the officials, it would be the question of, I forgot this invoice, it was somewhere lying there, but then there is. Then you have the instances which the member was asking about, the fraudulent cases. That's correct that the historic ones that I can mention is part of the material irregularity. Disciplinary proceedings were taken by the department for the responsible officials, and then some, of course, left, and the processes were followed to make sure that those who are still in the public service, they are still being pursued. And then we also have a recent case, which is the one that I said the Auditor General also red flag in one of our area offices. That one as well, the charges are being prepared by the responsible office. They did provide me with the evidence. Because as part of the process, Chairperson, is that before the CFO would release that payment, now I have to go back and verify that due process was followed. And then if we pick up these fraudulent cases, I refer it immediately to our forensics unit. Then they do a report, and then it did point to responsible officials who released payments or signed off that work was done, whereas the work was not done. And we do have those processes for disciplinary proceedings. The case of the KZN, Chairperson, the service provider has rendered services there. We did reach out to the communities, and our ministry was also in the KZN. The challenge that we had now regarding the billing, which honorable member is also asking that there was action taken. The incident that happened there is that during the tender process that we had, it was discovered that the rates that were provided to the department were in a way out of the norm in comparison to some of the contracts that the service provider had in KZN. So that is where then we started indicating to the service provider that we needed to normalize those prices. So when they submitted the billing, they submitted the billing based on the queried invoices. So the matter had to continue until we get the correct invoices and the supporting documents that are required. But in terms of service delivery, I can confirm that it was being rendered, but the rent values is what we are trying now to make sure that there's correlation between the two. So it did not really affect the work that was supposed to be rendered. Thank you, Chairperson. I'm not sure. I think I've covered all the questions raised by the members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now the department to present will be the Department of Water and, Public Works and Infrastructure. And before the presentation is made, let me first welcome the Honorable Minister Delil, and therefore allow the Minister to make opening address before the presentation of the department. Honorable Minister, you can take the floor.
Is Department of Water released, Chair?
Saying,
Check George, is Department of Water released now?
yeah, let me, it's up to you. If you want to stay on, you can stay on. But if you want to leave, I think we won't complain, because you have presented and answered questions raised to your department.
Thank you, leadership. Thank you. We'll take leave of absence. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister Delil.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and Honorable members. Thank you for the opportunity. I must also apologize that I've stepped out of another meeting just to honor the invitation by the committee. And if through you, Chair, I can be released after the introduction. I am joined today by our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Mandla Sithole, also Mr. Aaron Masabuko, who is the Chief Director of Financial Management, Ms. Yulala Kruger, who is the Director for Provisioning and Logistics, and also Mr. Tuna, who is the Acting Director, Financial Accounting and Reporting on the PMTE. Now, Chairperson, we started a process after the SONA commitment that the President made in 2019, that all departments must improve on the performance around the 30-day payments. I agree fully with your introduction, Chairperson. The impact, especially on small, medium enterprises, is critical, and that we must make sure that we pay all our service providers within 30 days. In fact, the in 30 days is prescribed in law, so it is not a performance indicator. It is compulsory that we must pay within 30 days. Honorable Chair, we then started a process to change from the old system, to a new system, which we will elaborate in the presentation. But the key in the new system that we have developed is to develop a single entry point for all invoices from our regional offices, from the national offices. And through that single entry point, we are able to see all invoices within the department that needs to be paid within 30 days. And we dubbed a program called Ria Batala. And the program has been very successful so far, Chairperson. Our current performance is between 95 to 99%. We also, on a weekly basis, publish on social media, Twitter and others, and our website. We publish publicly the performance of the department. The past week, I think we reached 98%, but we also publish the reasons why some invoices were not paid within the 30 days. So that is the system that we have developed. I have also reported to Cabinet about this new system that we've introduced, and we were asked to share the system with all other government departments, which we have done at national level. And we keep on refining the system so that we can reach the 100%. But of course, you know, when there are some problems with an invoice in that particular week, we state in our public response why the invoice has not been paid. So through you, Chairperson, thank you for the opportunity. I will now ask our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Mandla Sithole, to do the presentation for the committee. And once I'm done with the portfolio committee on public works and infrastructure, I will come back, Chairperson. So thank you for your indulgence and thank you for understanding. Unfortunately, the parliamentary program is very full and there are many clashes with many of the committees. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Your request is agreed to.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chairperson, members of the Portfolio Committee, ministers, deputy ministers, premiers that are here, and MECs and colleagues. My name is Mandla Sithole. I will skip some of the things that the minister has already spoken about, which one of them is the system that she has correctly alluded to. But what I need to indicate, Chair, before we had a system, we were using a manual system, which is an Excel. Excel, it comes with its own challenges, and there was no central point in terms of receiving invoices. And we have 11 regional offices across the country, and we have a head office also that is processing payments. But with the introduction of the system, we can get we get report every day, all regions. It's sent to all officials, managers, and officials that are responsible on daily basis. Before 8 in the morning, everybody gets a list of invoices that need to be processed in a particular day. We had challenges before we implemented the system. As I have indicated, we were using a manual system, which is Excel, and it was unreliable, and there were no controls. We were missing deadlines, but the introduction of the system has assisted us to have a real-time integrated reports where you can draw a report at any given time. You can even view any region on daily basis without fail. Then the processing of invoices also, it used to be a challenge where decentralized submission of invoices were submitted all over the place. Project managers will receive invoices and put them in the cabinet drawer. You can only see the invoices 6 months later or even more than that. There was no tool really to track the invoices. As a result, in 2018, we had about 11,872 invoices which were not paid, and they were beyond 30 days. That's where we are coming from. As a result of all these interventions, we can now report about 97% compliance, which I will unpack in the next few slides. And there was also no accountability. The system also has assisted us to hold people accountable. As much as at this stage, our labor relation is not as strong as we would want them to be, but they are following the prescripts. But we are yet to see one person getting fired because the invoices are not paid within 30 days. Is what we are trying to push, but officials also have rights. Then still the challenges, certification of invoices, it's also, it's used to be a challenge. We still face some challenges. The nature of work that we do as public works and infrastructure, we have about 77,000 properties across the country. So if there is a burst of a pipe in a particular facility, sometimes works managers have to travel for 700 kilometers just to go and verify the work done for maybe a work that is worth 5,000, and you find that actually the cost of traveling, if it's even more than the cost of the invoice. So these are types of challenges that we are facing as the department, even though we have a system, because once you receive an invoice, you must still travel to make sure that the work is properly done. So those are the things that we are faced with, but we are trying our level best to resolve such things where we need to introduce new systems that can assist us to even deal with such issues. Sometimes also the issues that we are faced with, delays in registration by service providers and compliance. The nature of work that we do, if there is emergency during at night, we have to appoint service providers. Some of them in certain areas, we don't have a database of service providers. So we'll have to get service providers that are not registered in some instances, because if there is a burst of a pipe, you need to fix it immediately just to stop wastage of water and so on. So those are the challenges that we face. And the level of service providers also, it's a different level in terms of compliance. So as a result, it affects the payment of invoices. The banking details also, some service providers can just change the banking details without informing the department. We'll process a payment thinking that the payment will go through, then it gets rejected on the system because the service provider has changed the banking details. Then we must start a process sending forms to the service provider, and it takes time to validate the banking details. So these are some of the challenges that we are still facing. There are not many though, Chair. They are minimal compared to previous years. Then just also to give context, as I've indicated, we have a transaction of about 4,000 just on project, because at any given time where there is progress certificate, it means a project manager must go on site and validate the work that is done. And note that, Chair, we have 11 regional offices. They are all based in metros or in cities. Like KZN, we have an office in Durban, but KZN is too big. Northern Cape is too big, but we have one office. So if you have a project in Vryheid, someone has to go to Vryheid and verify the work that is done. So these are the things that we are facing as challenges. Similarly, with maintenance, we have about 48,000 calls that we get on average in a year. And the same process must be followed also, where we must visit sites, sign the job cards together with the client that may have logged a call. So those are the challenges that we face. Similarly, with utilities and rate and taxes, we have municipalities across the country. If there are any disputes, we need to physically verify the usage in terms of the meter, whether the municipality is charging us the correct amount. So in total, on average per financial year, we run transactions of 1.2 million, which we need to deal with. So as I indicated, the nature of our work, it's not like receiving computers in the office where you can sign a delivery note and just pay. It requires a lot of site visit, check if the work is done properly. Sometimes there are even disputes where you need also technical people to get involved. The key success factors, I think the minister has already touched on some of the success factors that have been implemented. the meetings that we have weekly meetings with all the regions across the country every Friday without fail. We also have the regions also themselves, they have their own meetings in preparation for that meeting. We have weekly meetings with the minister, DM, DG, and myself as a CFO, where 30 days payments is a permanent agenda item in that meeting. Also at ESCO and Mintop, we report on monthly basis. The minister also requests weekly reports every Monday. We submit a report to minister, and also on Wednesday in preparation for the meeting on these days. Then in terms of accountability, we have referred number of cases to labor relations. As I said, the process is not as strong as we would want it to be in terms of holding people accountable, even for charging them. But there are a lot of referrals that we have done from finance point of view where people must be held accountable. We are able also to report on daily basis. We can extract a report at any given time. We fully comply also with National Treasury in terms of submitting on the 7th of each month. We comply with that. And also each region can extract a report at any given time for them to see which invoices that need to be paid in a particular day. Where we are, Chair, in terms of the performance, from the month of April to September 2022, we received 74,602 invoices worth 5.8 billion, and 97% of those invoices were paid within 30 days, which in terms of the number is 72,510. The rent value is 5.5 billion. 3% of those invoices were paid after 30 days, which is 2,070. Rent value is 261 million. And invoices that remain unpaid after 30 days, there were 22 invoices worth 14.4 million. As I indicated, Chair, before we started this intervention, we were reporting 11,872 invoices that were not paid, and they were beyond 30 days in 2018. So if we were to compare the progress that we have made, we are now, as at end of September, we had only 22 invoices that remain unpaid, compared to 11,872 when we started this program of Ria Badala. And just also to highlight, last year around the same period, we were at 90% in terms of invoices paid within 30 days. Now we are reporting 97% as at end of September, which is a significant improvement. I've already indicated on this slide, Chair, I don't have to repeat it. Let me move this one also. Maybe let me deal with this one. This one, it's just a comparison between last year and this year around the same period. We paid 78,000 invoices within 30 days last year, which was 90%. Whereas in this year, end of September, we paid 72,000 invoices, which is 97%. Then outside 30 days, invoices that were paid outside 30 days last year, in September was 9,158. This year is 2,070, and it's 3% of invoices that were not paid outside 30 days. Then unpaid invoices outside 30 days, last year it was 23. This year is 22. The difference is just 1. So that's the improvement that we have made, Chair, in terms of the comparison between last year and this year. This is just a trend, just to indicate also on average, the department, we receive about 12,000 invoices in a particular month, and we have to process all those invoices. So this just shows the trend. From April, we were at 96%, where we paid invoices within 30 days. And in July, we started to improve, where we're sitting at 98%, including September, it's 98%, if you round it up. Then these are just the details per region, which shows how in a particular month we have performed. This is a list of all the regions and in number of invoices that were paid within 30 days and paid outside 30 days, and invoices that remain unpaid outside 30 days. I'll focus mainly on the invoices that remain unpaid. You can see Bloemfontein had 7 invoices that remain unpaid after 30 days, and Durban had 3, Gqeberha 1, Mabato 11. So most of the regions, they reported 0 invoices. Actually, we extract the information from the system. We don't rely on any region to submit. The only thing that we request from them are the reasons why invoices were not paid within 30 days. This is a report, Chair, which is a summary that we get on daily basis. Like this report, we get it from the system on daily basis. It tells us to say how many invoices are in the system. Like as at 21st October 2022, the invoices that we had in the system were 5,188. And the system tells us to say the invoices that if they are not paid between 0 to 5 days, there will be more than 30 days. It tells us, like Bloemfontein, it tells you there were 2 invoices. If they were not paid between 0 to 5 days, then they will fall to over 30 days. So it helps even in terms of priority to say which invoices must be prioritized. And it also tells you which invoices, if they are not processed between 6 to 10 days, they will then be over 30 days, and it goes on and on. So this system, it helps managers to even prioritize invoices that are about to be more than 30 days. Chair, I'm sorry, I didn't indicate that the first part of the presentation was for the PMTE, which is our trading account that deals with our property management and infrastructure. This one is the main vote. The main vote, we are at 99% in terms of compliance, 7,338 invoices were processed within 30 days, which is 99% in terms of the percentage. Invoices that were paid outside 30 days, there were 89, which is 1%. There were no unpaid invoices. So this is a significant improvement for the main vote. Then this is just a comparison between last year around the same time and this year. DPW, as I have indicated, 7,338 were paid within 30 days, which is 99%, whereas last year we only paid 5,335 invoices within 30 days, which was 97%. So there is a significant increase in terms of the number and the percentage. And invoices that were paid outside 30 days in the last year around the same time, it was 185 invoices, and it was 3% in terms of the percentage. Whereas in this year, we have 89 invoices that were paid outside 30 days, which is 1%. So there is a significant improvement also in the main vote. As I indicated, there are no invoices that remain unpaid, which are more than 30 days, whereas in the previous financial year, around the same time, we had 2 invoices. This is also a trend that shows how the main vote has been performing. This is a similar slide for the main vote from the system. As you can see where it's red, Chair, the main vote, we don't have invoices that remain unpaid beyond 30 days, which is a good progress. This one is more of opportunities. The system that we have implemented, as the minister has indicated earlier on, where she went to cabinet and we were requested to share the way we manage invoices, and we did share that. As a result, we have lots of interest by other departments that wants to use the system. There are provinces that are already live with this system that we are using. and they had to request from the department through the accounting officer, and approval was granted. Eastern Cape Public Works is live on the system. Northwest Public Works is live. Free State Public Works is live. What we are also doing as something that we are exploring. Also, we requested we received a request from Limpopo. The department is still processing that request, which will be granted soon. There was also interest from other national departments. We are also processing their request. What we are also exploring as part of the improvement, we've conducted our ICT, the possibilities of having an app whereby the service provider on site can even upload all the evidence that the work is done, and to explore if our works managers can also rely on that. So we want to improve, instead of service providers coming to our offices where they can upload their invoices on the system without them coming to our offices, because it's also costly for service providers to travel many kilometers just to submit the invoices to the department. So these are the opportunities that the department has created through the work that we do. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, honorable members. This presentation is now open for discussion. I see Honorable Mgweba. Honorable Mgweba, take the floor.
No, thank you very much, Chair. And good morning, honorable members, ministers, deputy ministers, premiers, and all colleagues in the platform. Chair, let me then welcome the presentation from the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Chair, I've got only 2 questions to the department. In the presentation, they've indicated that there's a total of 4,877 invoices to the value of 558.8 million not paid within a 30-day regulated deadline. Then my 2 questions, Chair, to the department is that can a department not find a way to cap unpaid invoices per month? And the second question, Chair, to the department is if there is a weekly they've said there's a weekly monitoring of payment at hand at the national offices. Why such many invoices not paid within a regulated time? Or is there a capacity challenge in the department so that they must share with us as the portfolio committee? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Gondwe, is your turn.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I have 2 questions for the Department of Public Works, and both questions relate to slide 4 of the presentation, which sets out the scenario before the introduction of the Rea Patala initiative. So they indicate in that particular slide that there was a challenge of missing invoices. And I want the department to expand on this, because I take it that where invoices are missing and cannot be located, surely suppliers are able to issue duplicate invoices upon request. So I just want the department to explain a bit further on this. And then in the same slide, they indicate that in May 2018, they had close to 12,000 invoices that were older than 30 days and had not been paid. And I want to get an idea that how long do they take to clear this backlog following the introduction of the Rea Patala initiative. And then touching on the issue of consequence management. So I take it that consequence management has been strengthened with the introduction of the Rea Patala initiative. So I need to get an indication from the department that to date, how many public servants are facing disciplinary action in relation to this issue of the late payment of invoices, or how many have actually been disciplined in relation to this issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Gondwe. I see no further hands. Can the department respond to the 4 questions raised?
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you, members, for your question. On the first issue, the 4,000, well, we are not at 4,000. I'm not sure whether the honorable member was referring to the 22 invoices that remain unpaid. But let me deal with the main question, because the invoices that were paid outside 30 days is 2,070, and the invoices that remain unpaid, there were 22. In terms of capacity, I'll be lying to say there is adequate capacity, Chairperson. I think all government departments are faced by the capacity constraint, as we are all aware that the wage bill of government doesn't allow us to increase capacity. I think that's the challenge that we have. Hence, we are using all the means that is available. It requires managers to be creative to deal with such instances. I think our main challenge, Chair, why we still have invoices where they are beyond 30 days is the issue that I have highlighted. If a project manager is managing 20 projects, I'll make an example of KZN. You have a project manager that has 20 projects. One must, in a particular day, must travel to Vryheid, and in another day must travel to the other side of KZN, South Coast. You can imagine the time it takes to go to site. So those are the reasons at this stage that are making us to delay. It's because of the verification process. Because when it comes to construction, you can't process a payment without visiting the site to check the work done. Those are the current challenges that we are currently facing. But there is a lot of work that we are doing also to expect project managers to be creative. One of the things that they ought to do also, which we have discussed, is to also place reliance to clients' departments. Like if the aircon is not working, instead of the project manager going on site, the client must then sign off the job card and scan it back to the department. So those are instruments that we are implementing. Then there was another question also around the missing invoices. As I indicated, that was before we have Ria Patala. Since implementation of Ria Patala, we don't have such instances where invoices are missing. We had to put controls in place, which all invoices now are received centrally in each office. So we don't have that problem any longer. Then the other question was, how long did it take for us to clear the 11,872 invoices? If I recall well, it took us about 8 months to clear that backlog because we had to intensify the program. We were meeting on weekly basis with all the regions, with all project managers, works managers, everyone on Fridays. The department was basically coming to a standstill where we were meeting, and we were not going all over. We were just using technology, which is your VC, before these tools that we are using. We started long before COVID using technology, where region even started to compete to say, actually, I cannot be beaten by another region. So it also created competition among the regions. Hence, we are able now to have at least 22 invoices, which is also, one is too many. We are not saying it's okay to have 22 invoices not paid, which are more than 30 days. It's still a lot from a service provider's point of view. On consequence management, the number of referrals that we have made for PMTE to labor relations, as I said, labor relations work independently from finance, and they are Labor Relations Act that they need to follow. But from our side, we have referred 160 or 180 consequence management to labor relation for further action. As I said, at this stage, I wouldn't say there are people that are going through disciplinary process. I think our labor relations are not as tough as one would want them to be, but it's something that we are discussing with the accounting officer without also compromising labor relation process. It's like reporting or going to court on something, then the court give a light sentence. Unfortunately, those are the processes that we are facing. That is PMTE. On DPW, we have referred 25 consequence management to labor relations where official did not pay within 30 days. So there is a high level of referral from our side, but the only thing that we need to intensify through DG is to have a discussion with labor relations to really send a strong message where people continue not to comply. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Chair? Chairperson?
Do you want a follow-up, Dr. Gon?
Sorry, Chairperson. Ne ke batla gore a arabe question ya di missing invoices. Ha ke sure gore o arabi.
Araba ntate he, o utlwile.
The issue of missing invoices, I did address it to say this was before we implemented the system, which was then before 2018. We don't have problems around missing invoices because at the time, anybody was receiving invoices anywhere in the country, and people will come in the office and put invoices in their drawers. That is the past. We don't have that problem anymore. So the introduction of the system and central registration of invoices and receiving of invoices has eliminated this problem. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Let me now welcome the Office of the Premier of the Free State and the Office of the Premier of Limpopo. For Northern Cape, I'm informed now that the Premier has sent the DG. I think we must allow the DG to make the presentation on behalf of the province of the Northern Cape. Of course, we will not have the opening remarks for Northern Cape before presentation. Let me now welcome the Premier of the Free State and therefore give the Premier the opportunity to make the opening address or remarks before the presentation is made. The Honorable Premier of the Free State, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Honorable James, our chairperson, the House chairperson, and honorable members. I'm not the Premier of the Free State, I'm the MEC of Finance of the Free State. The Premier had to step out urgently. She was in the meeting. She should be back shortly. If not, we will continue to complete the presentation. So, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, let me acknowledge ministers, premiers in the House, MECs, DGs, HODs, and the House at large. Chairperson, there are two categories that is impacting not only government, but the Free State as a whole with reference to 30-day payments. First and foremost, I think, as you have outlined earlier, internally as a government, it impacts our cash flow, it impacts our management, the compliance and the governance. It also impacts the manner in which we can complete our programs and projects, the overruns, and of course the inflationary pressures that come with not paying invoices on time. externally, Honorable Chair, and I think to our communities and to the economy of the Free State, if we do not pay on time, it affects business people. They have to go out on loans. They have interest rates. It affects the business community at large. And of course, reference to the GDP and the money flow within our province. And ultimately, it affects our fiscus. So yes, I think this absolutely is a very valid session to be had, and we are very grateful for the opportunity to report, Honorable Chairperson. If you could allow, Chair, I'm not sure if your office has got a copy of our presentation. Am I allowed to flight it? Could you help me, please? I'm allowed to share screen, yes? Thank you. I will go to the first slide, if you don't mind. So you can just go up there, yeah. There we go. Thank you so much. Chair, I trust that the committee, the entire House is able to see the presentation and I'm audible.
I can see your presentation and I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you, Honorable James. So in terms of our reporting requirements, it is statutory. On or before the 7th of each month, we report all departments and entities to ourselves, Free State Treasury. We consolidate reports on behalf of the province. And then on or before the 15th of each month, we report to National Treasury. National Treasury reports to Cabinet. And in terms of our quarterly basis, our key control matrices, our in-year monitoring, we have a quarterly discussion with CFOs in our CFO forums, SCM managers, and then the forum of HODs, audit committees. And on a monthly basis, it is in the governance cluster as well as the executive committee of the province. So this is high on our agenda and our priority list, Chair. I know I don't have much time, so I won't take too long. Chairperson, in terms of the current status, and I like to do annual comparisons, you'll see in April usually is where we receive our first equitable share, and you would see a substantial decrease in those invoices. Largely in May and June, you'd find that service providers then submit invoices, and there has been an increase between 2020-21 to 21-22. Furthermore, we must note that the challenges that we experienced with fiscal consolidation and COVID had also impacted the manner in which we could deal with our accruals during that period. In July, it had decreased, August decreased, September, October, November, December, January, February, and then increase in March. And largely that is due to cash constraints, because the next available cash portion that would come out to the province is due to the equitable share in April every year. Chairperson, I've also requested the team to place values on the document so that we could see how the money flow, and we could do some analysis with reference to the money flow, but it doesn't really relate to the tangible amount of invoices that are still sitting with the province during a specific period or time, and that is absolutely what we wanted to showcase to the committee today in terms of how we move invoices year on year. So the analytics in a graph form showcases how the processing of those payments of all departments and entities, as well as how we deal with these invoices at 30 days, month to month. And you'll see that the drop happens from May, June, July, August, September, right into the end of January, February, going into March. Of course, once again, due to cash matters that we are trying to solve within the province as well in terms of our cash flow management. Chair, this is also just performance in terms of the 2 financial years, and then we look at the total value in 2020 to the value in 2021. But like I stated, the values is just depicting, you know, the money flow, but the actual graph that we need to look at is the number of invoices that remain with departments at any given time. This is departments or entities that really have challenges. You'll see that the Department of Health and the Department of, and the entity called MedPass has got the largest sitting over number of months. Health has reduced their accruals and the invoices by half, and MedPass that really deals with the litigation area of medical is largely the big challenge that we're seeing here. So medico-legal is a big challenge, I think, for the country and for ourselves. The Department of Education has reduced theirs, as well as the Department of Police, Roads and Transport. But we've also been able to depict that in terms of the number of invoices in every quarter. So as you will see in this report, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, that there are departments that consistently don't go over your 30 days, like your Department of Agriculture, your Department of COCTA, Human Settlement, Public Works and Infrastructure, Social Development, Treasury, Destia, and the entity Free State Gambling, Liquor and Tourism Authority, Fleet Management, FDC, MedPass, Health. Those are some of the departments that we do consistently see that the effect of the 30 days over quarter to quarter still remain. And largely, we find that in terms of the root causes or the disputes that have been raised are as follows. Number one would be cash flow management. Number two, disputes between the department and the service provider. Three would be tax matters. You'll see in terms of the write-up that a service provider may have not had their tax matters of course, in order, and it would be irregular if we pay against an entity that is not at the time registered accordingly. Compliance matters in terms of either documentation or support or supply or goods delivered on time, or there may be goods that were not aligned to the specifications. Some suppliers' banking details weren't correct, and some suppliers did not have their information updated correctly on CSD. In terms of the quarter one continuation of the other departments, that is depicted there, but it's very similar root causes that we have I have outlined earlier. Chair, these are invoices older than 30 days and what we call accruals in the terms where we deal with this matter at a governance cluster. And largely with the Free State Development Corporation, it is usually due to disputes with municipalities. Municipalities, they have properties within a municipality. They owe the municipality, for example, rates and taxes. There's a dispute between the tariffs and the tariff settings. Similar matters like that. We also understand that with the Department of Education, there were some compliance in matters, and some other departments have indicated that goods were ordered but not received, and hence the reason why there had been some queries and disputes around those accruals. But once again, Chair, mostly with reference to accruals, it is the challenge with regards to the cash management, challenge between litigations, areas where there are disputes, contracts haven't been finalized. We can look at old contracts that were cancelled, service providers that were terminated, other service providers that were blacklisted as an example. So some of them are valid matters, but we are looking into those long outstanding ones that still remain on the system without any specific indication or description as to why they're not being moved. So Honorable Chair, this is then what we're looking at in terms of last year to this year, for this financial year, from April to September, and we'll see that there had been a reduction in April, very small, a reduction in May, also small, a bigger reduction in June, and a larger reduction in July, an increase in August, and we are waiting for departments to give us more detail. I've got some compliance matters that were raised, but I think we can talk about that. And then, of course, in September, there had also been a bit of an increase. So, Chair, once again, I've been able to annotate that information in terms of a graph, so that could be easier to look at. And then the non-payment matters that we are looking at, and this is where we brought in, and I think we can keep this within the committee on client names or company names and the disputes and the status. So the first one, we can see it's still in litigation stage, the ones of June 2019, February 2024, in terms of the Department of Health, there's a dispute against the department. In May 2021, also Department of Health medical equipment. The payment is still outstanding, but there had been discussions between the supplier and the department. In November 2021, Health, this had been relating to contracts on medical equipment. So the responses in terms of that areas of dispute had been received and the payment is still outstanding. The discussions on August 2022, July 2022 for health and education, no responses had been received, and we will go back in terms of the cluster to understand what the challenges are there. In July 2019, on the travel services that we have, they both in litigation at this stage. KET civils are also at litigation, so that needs to be updated. June 2019, we are in discussion stage, so there had been a dispute raised on that invoice by the department. In terms of human settlement construction, we would still have to get some information, and then July 2022, we will receive the information in the next 7 days as it is due to the cluster and due to forward going forward. Chair, these are some of the transversal contracts that are still outstanding, and the amounts claimed and the amounts verified, which means that the officials within the department would go through those specific claims and verify that the services have been received and that we are not paying any amounts outside of the conditions of the contract, and it wouldn't be irregular at any time. And then outside of transversal contracts is where departments had appointed either on quotation basis, and these are some of the amounts claimed, and the departments are currently still looking at verification of those invoices and then looking at finding mechanisms to do those specific payments. So Chairperson, in a nutshell, accruals and payables is still a challenge. Cash flow management internally is still a challenge. Reporting on time, we've had 97% compliance where departments are reporting on time. Submissions and information where matters had to be escalated, we also had 95% compliance, which we are currently working towards 100% compliance. And that is areas where the Premier of the province and of course ourselves in the governance cluster are managing at the moment. But we do, as Free State Provincial Treasury, we have created a platform for suppliers to register non or late payments of services rendered. We also do follow-ups and direct manual follow-ups to HODs and accounting officers or CFOs within departments, which is reported to the HOD of our department in Treasury. HODs are required to respond within 10 working days, and if not, it is escalated to their executive authority and then to the Premier through the cluster. Free State Treasury conducts annual roadshows across the province in line with the district development model to help service providers keep updated with regards to the compliance and regulation matters that needs to be done. So we do some public work, public participation and community work to ensure that our suppliers are well addressed and communicated to and understand the fundamental changes. But we also have similar workshops with CFOs and SDM managers as alluded earlier. The transversal contracts were still a challenge in terms of 2018. For example, portfolio of evidence, areas where we needed additional information. Those are some of the disputes that we're still having to deal with at this stage. The 30-day reports, the consultation process is also conducted with departments and entities to make sure the credibility of our processes are intact. Our institutions are advised not to capture invoices in the system while there's still disputes, because that loads the system and it provides skewed reporting at a national level. We also requesting in-month monitoring and ongoing monitoring to address our grievances and outstanding invoices, and then the non-compliance letters are also placed on record where departments are not complying to the requirements of the set service level and operational agreements that we've made. Last slide, Chair. Treasury of course, conducts these monitoring. We've had 13 grievances that had come to our department that we are busy with. 7, I think there are 2 resolved, and I think we are busy with 7, and 1 was in an entity at the moment. Treasury is in the process with legal regarding outstanding payments on our transversal contracts. HODs are reminded to deal with the consequence management, performance management, and details of officials where there are areas where we are seeing irregularities and non-compliance in terms of the statutory and contractual obligations. Quarterly reports are submitted to the Public Service Commission for their notification and intervention to SIR. And then continuous reporting, like I've mentioned, and reporting on the 26th of September to put this report together for you, Honorable Chairperson and the members, was dealt on the 26th of September. So we should have additional reports by December for your perusal. Thank you very much. That is the story from the Free State Province. Kia leboha. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. I'm sorry I haven't indicated this earlier. I think we must receive the presentation from the 3 provinces before discussions are held. And I was also advised that the Northern Cape Premier's office has sent the Director General. So I plead with the meeting that we must allow the DG from the Northern Cape to present. Can I now invite the Limpopo province? I couldn't see the Premier on the list, but whoever is delegated by the Premier must now take the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson, for the portfolio. Ministers, Deputy Ministers, and my colleagues, MECs, and DGs were on the platform. Chair, I'm Siaparo Sekwati, responsible for Provincial Treasury in Limpopo. And we have been sent to represent the Premier's office because we are the ones who are responsible for monitoring, also coordinating the effort to ensure that we are able to pay invoices within 30 days. Now, I'm with my HOD, Mr. Gavin Pratt, who will make the presentation.
Thank you very much, MEC. Good morning, Honourable Chair and members. I'll just switch my video on. We are in load shedding. If you allow me then to switch it off while I present, but thank you very much for the opportunity. And good morning to all the honourable members, honourable premiers in the meeting, and the honourable MECs. So I'll try and take you through the Limpopo picture just to share our status in terms of 30-day payments. If I may switch my video off. Thank you. Chair, so yeah, I think it's really just to appraise the committee. We've taken the period from April 2020 to September 2022, just for comparative purposes and to share with the committee. I won't go through the contents. So firstly, just to share that this is our average compliance rate for all our departments in the Limpopo from April 2022, where we had a 91.19% compliance rate. That has grown to 99.83% compliance rate. There have been dips here and there, but certainly on an upward trend. And we'll look at a bit more detail to that. Obviously, as a province, we still have a target of 100% compliance. In terms of the number of invoices paid late, the yellow graph, we in April 2020, we had 383 invoices that were paid late, which have dropped to 84 in September 2022. With the high being in July 2021 of 953 invoices. So again, we've certainly seen the trend, but we do see the variances jumping month by month, and that's in the last year, we've certainly seen that consistently going down now And I think our efforts are paying off now. In terms of the value of invoices paid, again, we've seen a reduction from around 34 million in April 2020 to around 4.4 million in September 2022, with the high being in, I think it was July 2020, and that was during the COVID period when we had to recalibrate all our systems and people were working from home. But again, we've seen that drop off. We've then also looked at the average year on year, and in the 2020-21 financial year, our average amount that was paid late was around 46.6 million. And that surprisingly grew in 2021-22 financial year to 49.8 million rand. But certainly for this year, we've seen a substantial reduction down to an average of 10.2 million, which is still significant. And we are trying to get that obviously to zero. But at the moment, I think we're starting to see that compliance rate improve. Just in terms of the number of invoices paid late per department, we've just put it in the table here. And you'll see basically that it's our Department of Education and Health that are the two departments. So for April, we had 84 invoices that were paid in excess of the 30 days, of which 70 of those were paid between 31 and 60 days. So a couple of days late in terms of the 30-day compliance. Only around 14 invoices were then after 60 days. And that's been our push, is to move all the old invoices. We used to have quite significant number, greater than 120 days. And as you can see, that has now been eliminated. Also, invoices paid or not paid older than 30 days were only 15. And I say only with reservation, but certainly it's been improved. And again, Department of Health with 12 of those 15. So when you look at the compliance rate on the very right-hand side of that table, per department, we do have 5 departments that paid 100%. The rest of the departments are above 99%, and even health at 99.15%. I won't talk to this. I think that's really what I've just spoke to, Chair. When we look at the value, though, again, 4.4 million that I spoke to earlier, you'll see that 3.6 million of that relates to health. And of that, 1.3 million is just over the 31 days or the 31 to 60 days, the subsequent month. So the outline payments are just over 300,000, which I think is commendable with reservation, but certainly from where we've come, we've seen a significant improvement in trying to get to the 30-day status and getting our invoices paid within 30 days. So that's the rand value per department, with the biggest being in the Department of Health. So then for the period April 2022 to September 22, the current financial year, this is then the total number of invoices for the whole period that have been paid late. Out of 112,000 odd invoices, we had 589 that were paid after 30 days, or a total of 676 for basically the 6-month period. So again, not ideal, and a lot of that is then in health. When we look at the average compliance rate for the 6-month period, only 2 of our departments still remain in the 100%. That being Office of Premier and Economic Development, Environment and Tourism. But with the balance again being above 99%, except health at 98.99, but just about on 99%. So again, I think we've seen the improvement, but not yet at the 100% mark. Just some of our challenges is the late turnaround times, where we do have delays, especially in our infrastructure departments to get, and I think Public Works touched on that quite eloquently, to get those invoices finally certified for payment. And that does sometimes extend beyond the 30 days. But as you can see, we've tried to improve that process, and also through our implementing agents, we find that that process was weak, and we've strengthened that as we speak. Then we also find that we did not have an ordering system. We used the external system called Finest, We're now on the national government logo system, and then every single item that's been paid, whether it's water and lights for a municipality, has to have an order now. So in the past, our departments are using what we call sundry payments, and that limited our control to see whether things are paid or not paid. That's certainly helping us strengthen our systems also. We do have issues around the systems, the CSD challenges, and as I say, our Logos interface, this is the first that we're using Logos, and we do have some challenges. We've also had some issues around load shedding, where at the time we do the pay run, that packet drops, and then we find some of those invoices, in fact, don't get paid and have to be recaptured into the system to be paid. We have found issues where our colleagues capture wrong dates on the system, and that we pick up in the BAS system, and obviously we then do reflect them as late payments despite the incorrect capturing. That's what's on the system, and we work from what's on the system. Then we have some challenges around suppliers changing their CSD, the central supplier database bank accounts, without advising us. So we use the bank accounts as captured in the central supplier database. And when we make the payment, they have changed the bank account, and that then is rejected and then captured in the subsequent payment, which then does tend to also add to the late payments. And I think critically for us, Chair, we're still on a pretty manual system to monitor invoices before they get into the actual payment processing in the system. And that is a limitation, and I'm very encouraged by what the Department of Public Works has presented. And I would like to just maybe inquire, and we will, whether we as a province cannot also use that system, not only our Department of Public Works, as I think that will certainly strengthen our processes and our monitoring of all the invoices. So our interventions, Chair, we do have an email address at Treasury called payments@treasury.limpopo.gov.za, where any supplier can lodge a complaint for late payment. And we as Treasury have got a team then that makes follow-ups on behalf of departments with those, the customers, with the departments that have not paid the invoice on time, to identify what the issues is. Sometimes it's disputes, but then we engage to try and settle those disputes and facilitate the payment. In the medium to long term, we are looking at sourcing electronic invoicing tracking system, and I think what we've heard from Public Works now might facilitate and speed that process. And we'll certainly look at that, as I think it sounds very comprehensive and workable for us. But in the meantime, we are still using a manual system. We do have what we also call central collection points. All our invoices in departments are centralized, and that helps us also then to have some tracking on what's happening. All our 30-day payment invoice tracking or reports are or do go through our governance processes, through the HOD's forum, through our clusters, and ultimately to EXCO every month. And EXCO also then holds our executive authorities accountable for those invoices that are not paid on time, and for explanation to be provided in the Executive Council meeting. Thank you, Chair. I'll pause there.
Thank you. Can the Northern Cape take the platform now?
Thank you, Chair. We are just waiting to, oh, yes, there we have been allowed. Honorable Chair and the honorable members, honorable ministers, premiers, and colleagues. Chair, thank you for having allowed the Northern Cape to also make their presentation, given the challenge that all the political principals, unfortunately, are not available today. And I have been requested as the Director General of the province to make the presentation to this honorable committee. The acting premier and the MECs are currently attending to the adjustment appropriation bill at our legislature, hence none of them are available today. Chair, just to start the presentation then, just to give an indication that this is the outline that you are going to be following, the purpose and the introduction thereto, and we are going to be concentrating on the consolidated report from April 2022 to September 2022. We'll also look at the number of invoices that have been paid, that is from invoice receipt date versus the invoice date, and the average days to payment of those invoices. And lastly, the reasons for late and outstanding payments, Honorable Chair. There is a purpose, that is to brief the Portfolio Committee on the Public Service and Administration on the payment of the 30 days, challenges and opportunities that we have identified within the province and how we are going to be dealing with those. Chair, just as the introduction.
Sorry, Honorable Chair. Sorry, Chair. We can't see the presentation of the Northern Cape.
Chair,
Mr. Begabega, can you upload your presentation, please?
Yes, it shows from my side. Let me just try and Chair, can you see it now?
Yes, I can see it now.
Oh, my apologies, Chair, because it was showing from my side and the assumption was that all of us can see it. Thank you, Honorable Chair. We are already on page 4 now, which deals with the introduction. Just to indicate that the department submits on a monthly basis reports on the payments to the supplier on the 7th of each month, and then the Treasury submits those consolidated reports to the National Treasury monthly on the 15th of each month, and that is in line with our instruction note 34, that both the departments and provincial treasury, we are 100% compliant on that. Most of our departments are managing the payments to creditors within with the exception, Honorable Chair and members, of the Department of Health in the Northern Cape. 99% of the invoices older than 30 days are not paid, are reported by the Department of Health in the province. Our consolidated report for the period, as I've indicated, Honorable Chair, this thing is not moving now. I want to go to the next slide, slide 5. If you can just bear with me, Chair, on slide 5, there it is. Our invoices that are paid after 30 days, as you will see, Chair, from the number of invoices starting from April up to September, and the rand value thereof, Honorable Chair, if you can see from April, it was 350 that were paid after the 30-day period, which increased.
Sorry, Mr. Begabek, this is your presentation on the screen is not moving.
Yes, it seems to me there's a challenge here because it's showing here with me on page 5.
Okay, can anybody assist him to allow?
I do have my presentation. My colleague from IT is just. It seems to me it's.
Yeah, it has moved now.
Yeah, we want to go to page 5, Chair. There's page 5. Can Chair see page 5? Slide number 5. That is the consolidated report for the period to 1st April to 30 September 2022.
I can see that. I can see that.
Thank you, Chair. If you can, thank you for bearing with us. It seems to me we've got technical challenges from this side. This indicates from April up to September, the number of invoices that were paid after 30 days. Chair, the worrying factor for the province is that the number of increased from 350 to 582, and the value thereof from 32 million rand, 32.6 million rand to 40.6 million rand over the period April to September 2022. The more worrying factor is invoices older than 30 days that were not paid. On the same period, were 16,003 for April, and the September one, there is the increase that we see, 2,043. Just to give an explanation that the number increased of unpaid invoices after 30 days, even though the rand value might slightly have decreased, Honorable Chair. As you will see, June, July, we were standing at 233 million rand, 326 million rand, but in August, the value thereof decreased to 185 million rand, and then in September to 184 million rand. This trend indicates that the situation is worsening as there is an upward trend from July 2022 to September 2022. And here also, Chair, the Department of Health is still experiencing challenges with paying suppliers on time. Just to get an indication as to which departments that are paying suppliers within the 30 days period as legislated, it's the Office of the Premier, Provincial Treasury, Department of Economic Development and Tourism, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, and Social Development. All else, Chair, on the slide number 7, departments that are not reporting late payments, it's the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, Environment and Nature Conservation, the Department of Transport, Safety and Liaison, Roads and Public Works, Department of Education, Cooperative Governance, Human Settlement and Traditional Affairs. However, Chair, I must indicate that 99% of those non-compliance is from the Department of Health, which means the 1% is shared by the other 4 departments. Chair, just to look at the reasons and challenges for non-compliance, the reports that we receive from the departments is that there are IT system challenges, also especially from the Department of Health, inadequate budget or cash flow challenges. But from the Department of Health, what we have discovered is that there is poor alignment of budget and their procurement plans. There's also inadequate internal capacity at the Department of Health. There are unresolved invoice discrepancies at the Department of Health mostly, and there is a delay in the submission of invoice for processing. That is a challenge in the internal controls of the departments. Also, but to a slighter degree, a lesser degree, central supplier database challenges where some of the suppliers make changes to especially their banking details. And the reason for not dealing with that, we first want to verify whether there are no fraudulent activities when those banking details are being changed. And Chair, there's quite a number of human error and intervention controls that we as a department have identified, which we need to change. What initiatives have we then looked at to address those challenges? The support intervention at the Department of Health that we want to address, Honorable Chair and members, is we have requested the Office of the Premier, especially Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, and also Provincial Treasury to assist the Department of Health to ensure there is an alignment of the budgets and their cash flow to ensure that those challenges are being looked at. Also, Chair, we have discovered there are a number of outstanding orders and commitments which are more than 10 years old, which when we did investigation, they are not valid. We have requested the department, actually Provincial Treasury, to remove all of those long outstanding orders and commitments that we do not find any basis for them to be still on the system. Honorable Chair, we have also, I think it's the second time that we hear that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure National have got an invoice tracking system. We have requested our provincial treasury to interact with Public Works National to see as to how we also in the Northern Cape, especially for the Department of Health, can also log on to that invoice tracking system so that we can implement it within the province. And as I've indicated, provincial treasury will lead the sourcing of that system. Chair, what we are also going to be doing is to ensure that all departments are going to regularly report at the HOD forum on the progress that they are making in ensuring that all invoices are paid within 30 days. Once we have dealt with the matter at the HOD forum, they are going to be escalated to our executive committee for the Honorable Premier and the executive members of the executive committee council to also see how their departments are dealing with the payment of 30 days. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The presentations now are open for discussions by honorable members. Can I see who wants to? Honorable Kibi, I see your hand is up. Honorable Gondwe after Honorable Kibi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me welcome and appreciate the presentations by the provinces. Honorable Chair, let me start with the Northern Cape, I think. Yeah, since they are the last ones to present. I just wanted to check with the DG. He made mention of invoices that are older than 10 years that they would want to take out. And I just want to know what then would happen to the service providers that have not been paid. And my next one is the provincial tally of unpaid invoices and rent value is either constant or cumulative from April to September 2022. Is this about the same suppliers or different suppliers getting unpaid throughout this period? And then my next one, Honorable Chair, is what has been identified to be the challenge regarding timely payment of suppliers at the Department of Health. What is the intervention sought to address the situation? My next one, Honorable Chair, on IT system challenges. What exactly are challenges regarding IT in respect of non-payment of services? And the next one is, Honorable Chair, what contributed to the Department of Health not budgeting properly and adequately for its annual needs to experience cash flow challenges? And let me go to the Free State, Honorable Chair. Free State, my first question with you is second quarter invoices older than 30 days. There is a huge number of invoices older than 30 days in the second quarter that remained unpaid, and the rent value of such is also huge, especially at the Department of Health and MedPass. What are the challenges in this regard? And my next one, why is due diligence and vetting not done before appointing suppliers to ensure that they are tax compliant? Because according to my understanding, before you can identify or agree on the service provider, you first challenge, you first check on each and everything that these people are really qualifying, so you give them on the basis of that. And the next one, there seems to be cash flow management issues on a monthly basis at the FDC. What are the root causes for this situation? And why are these issues not being addressed? I think now I will be going to Limpopo. Honorable Chair, here we invited provinces with the expectation that the premiers would be part of this meeting. I've heard provinces indicating the reasons of their premiers not being part of the meeting. But with Limpopo, we did not even get an apology. I don't know what is happening. I think if they can assist us with that one, we would appreciate that. On rand value versus the number of unpaid invoices, since the province is doing well in improving the status of payments, targeting the number of invoices, will it be possible to shift the focus from the number of invoices paid to also reducing the rand value of unpaid invoices to a 1 million or less per quarter? And then my last one is, what will the office do to improve on invoices that go up to 90 days unpaid? What steps will be taken to deal with those who miss the regulated deadlines? I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Gondwe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I have a question for the Northern Cape. So it's more of a question coupled with some comments. So slide 5 of the presentation by the Northern Cape Provincial Treasury, we saw the consolidated report, which shows that the situation is worsening, and there seems to be an upward trend from July 2022 to September 2022 rather. And the Department of Health, which accounts for almost all of these late payments, is still experiencing challenges. And I think my question then becomes, surely the time has come for more stringent measures to be introduced, that are specifically aimed at holding public servants accountable. Because I'm certain that this issue of the late payment of invoices is also having an impact on the ability of departments, such as the Department of Health in the Northern Cape, to provide services. And I think the time has really come, Chair, for departments to start holding public servants accountable. And my question then becomes to the Northern Cape. Are you looking at consequence management? And if you are, to date, how many public servants have been held account in this regard? And I just want to get an idea of whether disciplinary action is being taken against public servants who are found to be negligent. Because the challenges highlighted in the presentation also seems to suggest that the Department of Health in the Northern Cape is in serious trouble. And yes, I take the point that the Office of the Premier and Provincial Treasury are assisting the department, but it sounds like it's really in a dire position. And this is one of the critical departments in that province. And it's actually at the coalface of service delivery. And I'm worried that, this issue of the non-payment of invoices, or the late payment of invoices, is really having an impact on the ability of this particular department to deliver services. The fact of the matter is, the reality is that our people are tired of the spate of poor service delivery in departments, and we really need to get our act together. And one of the ways that we need to get our act together, and our public servants can get their act together, is if we start holding them accountable. And I also want to just pose a question to Limpopo. Can they give us an idea of how many public servants are actually facing disciplinary action around this issue, or how many have been disciplined to date? And of course, the same question I would like to pose to the Northern Cape. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Gondwe. I see no further hands. Therefore, I will allow now the provinces to respond to questions raised thus far. In no particular order.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. It's the DG of the Northern Cape. Thank you for the questions that have been posed. Yes, Chair, I think just to start with on the first question as to what happens to the suppliers, especially of those that we've discovered, there are invoices and commitments that are older than 10 years that are under Chair. Before we come even to a point of cleaning up our bus and login system, is to do an investigation whether indeed any services were ever provided that justified those amounts that are on the bus and login system. And I think I will later on just give an explanation to, especially on the question that the Honorable Gondo has asked. We have discovered that there's quite a number of old invoices that have been captured, but we cannot trace whether any services have been done. And over and above whether any services have been done, when we look at who those service providers are, Honorable Chair, they are non-existent. And that leads us to the possibility where fraud might have been occurring. We are working hand in hand also on the other side with the Hawks to do investigations where we find there is suspect invoices that have been submitted there. We refer those to the Hawks. Chair, and whether this is cumulative or is it different suppliers, Honorable Chair, it's both of them. We find in instances there are cumulative cases where a person has been owed for the past more than 90 days, 180 days, or on the other side, we do have different service providers also within that time frame from April up to the end of September who are still being owed. And as I've indicated, the bulk of those are within the Department of Health. What are the challenges at the Department of Health? Chair, it's a multiplicity of challenges, but the greatest is a non-alignment of the organogram that we currently have at the office, actually at the Department of Health. This is one of the biggest departments, but just to give you an explanation, we have less than 3 chief director positions at the department. This is where the province spent close to, I think, between the Department of Health, Department of Education, 70% of our provincial budget goes to those departments. And hence, at the Department of Health, you find there is a lack of senior managers who will take responsibility for the actions. The Office of the Premier is in the process of assisting them in finalizing, in getting an organogram that speaks to the mandate of the department. And I think we are close to the end of the process, Honorable Chair, to ensure that we have senior managers who will be doing the work at the Department of Health. But over and above that, you find even there is no alignment of their plans to the budget that they've received. Before they start on a financial year, there's millions of accruals of the past year that they first have to pay, which leaves a huge gap in the current financial year. And when services are provided in the current financial year, there is no money for that, because the money of this financial year has paid accruals of the past financial year. So it's extreme poor budgeting that we are currently finding at the Department of Health. IT system challenges, yes, that's what the report that they are providing to us. We've asked the Department of Treasury to assist us in that. Hence, in my initial presentation that we've indicated that we need to look at a system, the tracking system that has been provided by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure National, to see whether that cannot be able to assist us in these IT challenges that the colleagues from Department of Health do provide us. And as I've indicated, the budgets are not properly managed, Honorable Chair and members, and that's where we want to assist. What are we doing with all the challenges that we have identified? Chair, just to indicate that the acting HOD and the CFO has been in suspension. Criminal charges have been proffered against them They are at court as we speak. So that is what we are currently doing as a province. There are other officials also within the department, especially within the finance unit, within the procurement unit, who have been charged within the department and others also criminally, which we are trying, and that by that we are trying to ensure that we are cleaning up the system. We are in the process, Chair, as well. I've indicated that the acting HOD is at court plus the CFO. We are at the process now. We have advertised. The long list and the short list have already been submitted to the Honorable Premier. We are waiting for the date when they come back from abroad to ensure that we are going to be appointing a HOD who is going to be taking charge there or two. But over above everything, Chair, we have indicated that as a province, both the Office of the Premier and Provincial Treasury, we need to ensure, from especially Office of the Premier, from performance side, that we need to give assistance, but on the financial side, that we need to ensure that the Provincial Treasury also assists to ensure that we are going to be assisting the Department of Health to minimize the non-payment of service providers within the legislated timeframes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Becker.
Chair, may I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
No, thank you very much, Honorable James, and to honorable members, Honorable Kibi and Honorable Gondwe for the questions. The first question, Honorable Kibi, on the second quarter, the accruals, the 30-day payments or more, the unpaids are a huge challenge. These are invoices that are currently under litigations. It is areas where there are disputes either in court or currently with the departments. So we do understand there had been quite a few prior to the previous HOD, before a new HOD was appointed in the Department of Health. There are some contracts that were under investigation, and some of them are in the litigation stages at this stage. So you'll find that with medico-legal under MedPass, that is litigious in its nature, but the departmental unpaids have also been under various and strenuous review, and also undertaking some due diligence processes there, Honorable Chair and Honorable Kibi. In terms of the suppliers that are not tax compliant, so upon tendering, we do ensure that there are compliance requirements, and upon the quotation basis, a specific supplier must be tax compliant. But during the time, either SARS is doing an investigation or updating their systems, and then that automatically comes up on our systems. I mean, with BAS and Logos as Treasury, automatically it's live. So we see that as SARS deals with those specific suppliers, and they do flag that it's non-tax compliance, perhaps they needed to pay something, or there's still some investigations or whatever audits that happen, they do flag as non-compliant. And before we can pay, so there is a regulation that states that if at time of the tender and award, and if at the time of the service that had been procured through quotation basis, if it is that case, we should be paying, but I believe that we've had some challenges with irregularities in that regard. So I know that HODs and CFOs within the various departments do contact SARS, and they do their due diligence to ensure that they don't have any irregular expenditure against any supplier that is non-tax compliant at any given time. In terms of the Free State Development Corporation, there had been a complete overall in terms of the finance division. There's a new board, there's a new CEO. So there is a complete overall with regards to that entity. We are redefining, and we have created a new strategy towards what we want to see coming from that entity. So at present, and the reason why we're also finding that we have just finalized the submission of the financial status, and we're finalizing our audit there, is because there had been a delay in, of course, appointing a CFO and some individuals within that entity. And therefore we'd find that collection rates are not as timeous and in line with the collection rate targets that we have with that entity. It's a revenue generating entity. It's a business in government entity. So we're expecting that revenue is generated internally with reference to the amount of land, the amount of state assets and others that are sitting within that entity, and the capabilities to create additional investment arms within the entity. So we're finding that those are some of the challenges that we are seeing as we're redefining that the FTC, and that is why we have some cash matters and cash flow problems. But I believe that in terms of the next 6 months, we do see a full turnaround, and we hope by then that we could report back to this committee and showcase how that entity has moved. Chair, one last thing that I'd like to state outside of the questions is that we as a province, and I'm the chairperson of the political cluster for governance, this is high on our agenda. The Premier has raised it in a State of a Province address. It is a huge focus for us as a province, and we have to deal with the outstanding month-to-month 30-day payments and then also the accruals. So within the next 2 months, we'd be able to report some substantial progress in this regard. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Chair Limpopo.
Yes, take the platform.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the questions, but also the concerns that have been raised. Chair, first and foremost, let me say that when I started, I said I am representing the Premier of Limpopo, who has requested myself as the head of a provincial treasury, working with the Office of the Premier in terms of monitoring, but also coordination of the 30 days payment. And I thought it was very clear. Unfortunately, perhaps I did not say that. I apologize for the Premier's non-appearance in this meeting, but I thought it would have been done formally to the committee that I would be representing the Premier. But it was clear that I'm here on the basis of me being delegated by the Premier of the province, and I never thought perhaps there would still be issues beyond that. However, I do apologize for the Chair. Secondly, yes, there was a question, Chair, in terms of the matter of consequence management, and I think I should just put it clear that on this case that we have had a person or any official who has held accountable, except that we have been getting these reasons that we have already alluded to in terms of the non-payments. But yes, indeed, we will look into that as to how do we then, in terms of the process, make sure that the ultimate officials who are expected to pay then are held accountable for this payments beyond 30 days, so that we are then able to account as to who are those that are responsible. Because at the moment, it's very, very a bit difficult, because people will raise a number of reasons as to why invoices have not been paid within 30 days, ranging from non-submissions of certain documents to other matters that would relate to service providers and so on. However, Chair, as I'm saying that we'll have to look into that,
to be honest,
in terms of 30 days payment. Thank you, Chair.
You. Who's next? Have they all replied to question raised? It was Northern Cape, Free State, yeah, you have. At this point, I will allow you to leave the meeting, all the Premier's offices, and then the members of the portfolio committee will be left behind. Then we deal with the minutes of the previous meeting. But you are free to log out as we deal with minutes in committee.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Chair. Goodbye.
Good day, Chair.
Mastole.
I will quickly go to the minutes of the 9th of November, Chair. We only have 2 sets of minutes, Chairperson, today.
Okay. All right.
Yes, Chair. I've just put them through. I don't know if you can see them, Chair.
You guys
Yes, I can see them.
Because I left late. Message. Send the message.
Kwalang.
Also, shows or you don't care about us. You don't respect. Buy anything.
It's Dineo, Chair. It's Dineo, Chair. From the
Dineo khale ke o khalimela we. O rata o bula mic ya hao ha ditaba di felile hlakong la lona. O phazamise meeting wa ka. Ke o khalimela la o qetela jwale.
She has since left the meeting, Chair. I'm on page 1, Chair. The minutes of the 9th of November, 2022. We had DPME on the day, Chair. I'll be on page 1.
As will shout where they want to make corrections.
Page 2, Chair.
Chair, Masi?
Yes.
A bit fast. Can I have a look at the attendance? All right. Thank you, Masi.
Thank you. I'm on page 3, Chair.
Yes, Mastole. Members will shout where they want to effect corrections.
And I'd also, Chair, send out these minutes. I'm on page 4, Chair. That's the last page, Chair. Page 5 is empty. Those are the minutes of the 9th of November, Chair.
Okay, Mastole, can I table that first of set of minutes to the committee for
Okay,
adoption? Chair. Anyone who wants to move adoption on that?
Honorable Chair.
Yes, Honorable Kibi.
I move for the adoption of the set of minutes of the 9th of November.
I'll call you.
Thank you, Honorable Kibi. Any seconder to Honorable Kibi? I'm calling for a seconder to the proposal by Honorable Kibi.
I second.
Thank you, Honorable Maneli. That set is adopted. Must call
Okay,
move
Chair.
to the next set.
This is the last set of minutes, Chair. This one's for last week, Chair. Which was the 16th of November, 2022, Chair. I'm on page 1.
Okay, members will shout where they want to correct.
Which is the attendance register. Continuing, page 2, Chair. We had one apology only last week, Chair, Honorable McLaw. Page 2. I'm on page 3, Chair. Also, these minutes were made available to members, Chair, yesterday. Page 4, Chair. That's conclusion, Chair. That's the last page, Chairperson. Those are the
Thank
minutes
you,
for
Ms. Collins.
16 November, Chair.
Any mover for the adoption of this set?
Ntuli, Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the set.
Thank you, Honorable Ntuli. Any seconder to Honorable Ntuli?
Seconded, Chair.
Be on record, my whip. Put yourself on record.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I'm Gweba Teliswa. I'm seconding Honorable Ntuli on the set of the minutes of the 16th November 2022 as a true reflection.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mkweba. That set of minutes is now approved and adopted by the meeting. Honorable members, thank you very much. We managed to deal with everything that we wanted to deal with today in a record time. Thank you for that. The meeting now stands adjourned.
Long live, Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and have a blessed festive season, everybody. Bye.
Bye.